The former member opportunity is valued at $27 billion, and 45% of former members intend to return to a gym. 42% of active consumers use all three workout environments: gym, home, or digital. In less than 13 minutes, you're going to find out exactly what an Omni-Exerciser is and how we can attract more of them to our clubs.
Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast with your host, Justin Tamzett. With over 30 years in the fitness industry, JT is a globally recognized authority with a mission to lower healthcare costs worldwide by getting more people moving and moving more often in quality facilities with qualified professionals. Every episode, JT digs deep with our guests to bring you insights that will help you lead, innovate, and boost your bottom line. So let's dive in. Take it away, JT.
Welcome to the final episode of Season 6, where you'll hear real data of opportunities for your business. What a season we've had, diving deep into the ClassPass annual report, and our last show, the insights from 10,000 consumers. And today, we dive into two more reports: the fitness membership divide and the exercise ecosystem. So that's 4 reports that can help your business strategy, and the focus is all coming from the consumer. The opportunities are plentiful. You can get a free copy of all 4 reports at patreon.com/Fitness Business Podcast. Just take a 7-day trial if you like, and as an FBP Insider, you get access to all of these reports, catch up on the recordings of shows that you've missed, the webinar recordings, and so much more. You'll have access to all of the great tools, all of the offers, and a community that will help you and your team develop the business that you want. It's never, ever the wrong time to tell us who you want on the podcast or what topics you want. And next season drops in just over a month. So now is the time to tell me who we should have as a guest and what topics. Season 7 is designed by you for you. There's a link in the episode notes, so click on it and spill the beans on who and what you want. Datagonist, founded by Melissa Rodriguez, combines practitioner insight with rigorous research and methodology. Melissa spent 13 years leading research initiatives at HFA, the Health and Fitness Association, and conducted market research at Mindbody, where she focused on fitness and wellness technology. Before transitioning to research, she worked as a personal trainer, giving her the ground-level understanding of how our amazing industry actually operates. Now, there are links in the episode notes on your podcast player for Melissa's contact details and her company links. Immediately after the interview, I'm going to share my secret sauce with you on what I did with all of the reports from Season 6 as a way to help my Rex Roundtable members. And you can do exactly the same. You'll love it. Zero cost idea straight after Melissa. So let's drop into Melissa's interview after this short break. Now, I've told everyone already how awesome and how diligent you are in your research, Melissa. But why do these 2 reports we're going to talk about today have such street credibility? Why would people read them, and why would people want to listen to what we're going to talk about today?
Well, JT, I've been in the industry for some time. I've been fortunate to make a career out of the industry. And I think when I was thinking about this research, I really wanted to look at some of the segments and populations that maybe we haven't thought about in a while or haven't examined in depth. So with the fitness membership divide, I know each year we have some great information on member research from HFA, but one topic that was very interesting to revisit was the former members versus never members, looking at that non-member group and how are they different from members. And we'll talk about this some more. I think it was the former member story that was probably most compelling to me. The other report, the exercise ecosystem report, I think for years we've known that there's been some overlap and commonalities between home exercisers, gym exercisers, and studio users, but we don't have the hard data to support it. And so that was another area that I wanted to see, what's the overlap? What are some of the things that these consumers have in common? And then also what are their unique identities as well. So those are kind of the driving forces behind both the reports, and they're based on a nationally representative survey of 2,500 U.S. adults ages 18 to 79. So that's covering the four major adult generations: Generation Z, Millennials, Generation X, and Boomers.
Love it. All right, well then let's dive in, and I'm going to pre-warn you, Melissa, at the end of this, I'm going to ask you a question. If you were running a club tomorrow, what would be the top 3 initiatives you'd implement to close the gap? So, listeners, just hang in there. We're going to get to that with Melissa. First up, let's talk about that former member cohort. And from your research, it represents, am I right in saying, a $27 billion opportunity?
Yes, that was a significant finding to me too, being able to quantify that and see the opportunity with former members and the difference between former members and those that have never joined, never committed to having a membership at a club. And what that represents is nearly 79 million potential returners. And of that number, we have about the people that have been former members, 45% of them intend to rejoin. And I thought that was really significant. So even though they left the club, they're still open to coming back. So they didn't have a horrible experience. There was just a reason why they left, and they're open to coming back. And I think that's actually good to see that it's nearly half that actually plan to return to gyms. And hopefully we'll see that reflected in the club's bottom line in the next year or two.
Now, I'm sure everybody's dying to know, and I'm not sure whether this actually comes out in the report clearly, did we know why people left in the first place?
Yeah, so what they were saying in the report, what I found is that for former members, cost is always a number one reason for leaving. And I know some of that, it's kind of uncontrollable, right? We're running a business. We have to charge something for membership. But some of the other top reasons for leaving, one that really stood out to me is just not using the club or not seeing results. And that usage, lack of usage, that's something that we've seen in other research. I know Dr. Paul Bedford covers, retention very thoroughly. Finding a way to kind of incentivize that usage and make sure that people are seeing results when they're using the facility, I think is one of those kind of value perception barriers that we can cross as an industry, as club operators can cross when they're thinking about how to reactivate some of their former members. And on probably backing up a little bit, JC, I think one of the things that are really important in order to reactivate these former members is make sure as they're leaving the door, that you continue having those touch points with them, that you still have permission to, whether it's email them or track their activity via their the app, if you have a club app. You just want to be able to continue engaging with them and to keep those communication lines open for a potential return.
So in the research, did you find out whether they're open to ongoing communication from the gym that they were a member of?
No, it's not something that I asked from the gym, but I think the fact that they're interested in joining, that nearly half of them are interested in rejoining, I believe that they're willing to maintain communication with the gym. Now, there was a very small segment, it was just about 10% that said they left because their club closed. Now, so those are some orphan members out there. There are orphan members out there where they could be looking or shopping around for a new club, and this still represents an opportunity for the industry. I think one of the things, though, seeing that roughly 37% of this former member group still uses digital at least weekly, I think it's another touch point that if it's a member that's left, having a digital offer is another way to continue keeping in touch with them, even if it means, maybe offering some of those workouts that you provide via digital as an alumni type of benefit for those former members to access and keep that open as a means of them potentially returning. That's just another touch point to consider.
I think that's a great suggestion, Melissa. I know we don't want to mention the C word or the pandemic because it happened so many years ago, but we have so much recorded workouts from back then that are sitting somewhere on our hard drives that we could actually repurpose for these cancelled members. So I think that's a great suggestion that you've just made. What else did you find out about those former members?
So those former members, they're still exercising. So a lot of them are exercising regularly. Home has just become kind of the anchor of their routines. They're exercising outdoors, they're exercising at home on a regular basis. And so they haven't lost their commitment to fitness entirely. They're still exercising. They just may not be exercising within the four walls of a club. So I think that's kind of another important thing to keep in mind, is that whatever experience that they had at the club, there has been some adherence to regular exercise still. It's not as prominent or as habitual as it is for current members, but they're still committed and still thinking about exercise. Another thing that was really stood out to me for former members is a little bit of the generational divide. So we're seeing, I don't think it's unique to US, but in a lot of markets, there's just an influx of Generation Z and millennials that a lot of them are joining at kind of faster rates than some of the older populations. And so former members, they skew older than current members. And so there's something to be said there. Now, are we losing some of our members as they enter into like more disruptive life phases, when if they have job losses, or if when they move, start a family, switch jobs, or even as they're a little older entering retirement? These points along the way, there's definitely a little bit of a generational divide when we're looking at the fitness membership divide, where the average age of a current member has kind of decreased over the years, is skewing younger. And so I think it's one of the things that also stood out to me is that we have, Generation X and boomers that are more likely to be former members than current members.
Melissa, the report also shows that people are motivated more by feeling good, feeling healthy and longevity, more than appearance. Now, this kind of came out of the pandemic as well. Fascinating that that's maintained. Did that differ from generation to generation, or was that common across all generations?
It was common. Surprisingly, actually, when we look at kind of the broad overall population, it's a little higher for younger populations than it is older populations, but it's the number one reason across the board. And I think it just, like you said, that there's the influence of the pandemic. There's a shift to an interest in more like holistic health and fitness. And so I think that's a lot of operators were responding to that as we see the addition of wellness and recovery offerings and partnerships with the medical community, and also kind of this willingness to program for medical treatments like weight loss and weight management treatment. So I think that's something that's it's consistent across generations, and it's even more so with some of the younger generational groups. So I think it's something that we're just consider for years to come, that it's not just about working out. It's just not about the training session. It's more than that. It is mental well-being. It's recovering after a tough workout, and it's the social community above many other layers.
Yeah, I love that. Did you want to give a plug to your sponsor for that report? Because it's such a great report. It's fascinating.
Thanks, JT. Yep. So this the fitness membership divide was sponsored by the Fitness Industry Technology Council. Really appreciate their support with it. And there's a lot of kind of good takeaways here too on the digital technology side and the role it plays in really holding the fitness and wellness routines together for current members especially, but also across the entire spectrum of membership status.
And we'll put the links to the Fitness Industry Technology Council in today's show notes so that you can check them out as well. All right, well then let's move to the exercise ecosystem report. And one of the biggest findings is that home gym and studios are no longer competitors. They're complementary. Who would have thought? What data did you discover around that?
Yeah, I knew they were complementary, but I would have really loved to do this report several years ago to see what the overlap was. But essentially, active consumers, people that exercise at least weekly, they use all three environments, whether they exercise at home, they exercise in the gym, and at the studio. And in total, about 42% of active consumers use all three environments. So they don't operate in silos. And I remember when I started in the industry, in fitness industry research, there was this perception that home competed with gym, but it's not the case. It's just actually over-index for in-person exercise as well.
Fascinating. You also talk about in the report Omni-Exercisers. What does that mean, and how do we create more of them if it's a good thing?
Yes. So the Omni-Exerciser, it's the exerciser that uses all three environments, and that represents about 42% of active adults. And they're really the kind of the commercial engine of the modern fitness economy. They train everywhere because they know kind of variety is the pillar of longevity and physical training. So I think as a club operator, as a studio operator, you have to think as an ecosystem and not as a silo. You kind of have to expect that if you have a very active consumer, they're going to go to the gym one day and they might go to a BT class another day. And on a day where they can't get to in person, they're going to be working out at home. And it's really kind of the job of the operator to help lead them through the entire ecosystem throughout their lifespan and their fitness and wellness journey. So they're not competitive. They complement each other and work together to complete the fitness and wellness routine of the exerciser, and in this case, the Omni-Exerciser. So how clubs can create more Omni-Exercisers, I think digital is such an important piece for this because it's really those digital tools that hold that entire routine together. It's not just about the digital workouts, but it's just being able to keep tabs on the entire ecosystem of their well-being routine, whether it's tracking, helping to facilitate kind of the wellness part, whether it's meditation, the active recovery routine. I think that's really the connective tissue that holds it all together is the digital offer, and that can help kind of bring the entire ecosystem together.
So, Melissa, convenience is a major factor in choosing a gym. And the report says that 2/3 of gym exercisers prefer one provider that can meet all their needs. What do we got to add to our services to make sure people don't leave us?
We're seeing this popping up all over. A lot of the savvy operators are adding recovery and wellness offerings. But I think when we look at specifically gym users, they do over-index for certain amenities. But across the board, kind of the number one most popular service is massage, whether it's massage, practitioner massage, or massage bed. That's kind of popular with all three groups, actually, home gym and studio. That's kind of the number one offering that they participate in and that they're interested in. When we're looking at specifically kind of the gym users, they over-index for other kind of performance related recovery. So it's the saunas, the cold plunges, I think like foam rolling, make sure you have foam rollers on the floor, and a lot of them. I know that's a very simple one, but sometimes there aren't enough on the floor. But even foam rolling, they kind of over-index for that relative to the other two groups. And another aspect that really kind of surprised me with this when I was kind of gauging interest in different wellness services was the popularity of some practitioner-led coaching type of services. So whether it's nutrition coaching, life or wellness coaching, those are very popular as far as interest. All three groups are interested in that. And I know we have a lot of personal training, but sometimes there isn't targeted kind of nutrition coaching or life and health coaching. I think it's a big opportunity, whether it's kind of repurposing your trainers, getting education programs, getting them trained into that side of well-being coaching, or hiring or contracting well-being coaches. I think that's a big opportunity too. Well, that's one thing that really that stood out, that along with kind of the recovery amenities, there's a strong interest in kind of that expertise, specialized expertise for nutrition and health coaching as well.
Yeah, that's a fascinating opportunity for us, isn't it? To be able to really grow a secondary income with specific coaching.
Yeah, that's something I'm curious to see, JT. I don't know if you've heard a lot of clubs that are offering kind of nutrition specific. I know that's something that Lifetime has said that they've started offering in the last few months. So I think that's definitely a significant opportunity there.
Yeah, I wonder, as we start to become a more holistic place, whether that life coaching also now starts to become a service that we offer.
I'd like to see that. It's almost like, I think, what beyond training, I think a lot of members are looking for someone to hold the entire routine together. Someone that can guide them, not just on the training floor, but bring the other pieces of life together, like the nutrition, whether it's your diet, your supplement stack, your mindfulness routine, your recovery routine. It's like they want someone, an expert, to really bring that entire routine together for them.
I think you've just come up with a new profit center in clubs. It's called Beyond Training.
That's your wellness coach. Yeah. Your lifestyle routine coach. It needs a name. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Who are the biggest spenders in our clubs?
Yes. So this is where the Omni-Exerciser really shines here. And there's a lot of kind of overlap with the Omni-Exerciser and the Studio Exerciser, because the studio user, they're more likely to use all three environments. I think 90% of them exercise at a gym and at home. And so what I found is that the more engaged a consumer is, the more likely they are to use different environments, the more they're going to spend. It just kind of makes sense. You have to kind of pay to access all these environments. And it also is an indicator of how invested they are personally into their fitness and wellness journey. And overall, that Omni-Exerciser, they spend about 8 times more in a year than a home anchored consumer. That's a number that really stood out. When you look at the median number, it was about $900 a year is what they spend, but there are a lot of outliers. We see there are a lot of outliers that can spend more than that, but that's just using that as a perspective relative to the home anchored routine. The home anchored exerciser, the Omni-Exerciser, spends almost 8 times more per year on their fitness and wellness routine.
I think the report actually says $220 per month is the engagement gap for gym users. Can you explain what that meant in the report?
The kind of typical like median gym user spends about $62 per month across the kind of 4 dimensions. That includes fitness, wellness, recovery, and digital. But what we're seeing is that kind of the fully integrated gym consumer invests $282 a month. So that's a 220 gap. That's about 4x more than that typical user. And what that represents is kind of this depth of relationship that they have with their routine, with their providers, and with their journey. This isn't a challenge that has to do with acquisition. It's more of increasing the depth of the relationship for a gym exerciser. And we see that gap across like the 3 exercise groups too. So how can we make the experience more than just about the training floor, more than just about exercise, and have them fully integrated into wellness services, recovery amenities, and also the digital offer too? And I think that's a huge opportunity to close that gap. I think there's a lot of options. I think that there is, like with coaching plays a pivotal role, but even simple additions to the gym floor to include like a recovery stack too would help with that, engaging that and really maximizing that wallet multiplier.
But I think as an industry, we're almost ashamed, embarrassed, don't have the intestinal fortitude to actually charge more for what we do. And looking at this, it kind of substantiates that we could actually charge more.
We could, yes. And there has been a little more a testing of the ceiling, I think, the pricing ceiling a little bit more in the last year or two, just because cost of living, cost of everything is going up, whether it's the cost of living or cost of operating a club, operating a facility. There has been kind of some increase in pricing. But the other kind of story is that you can also think about offering more, beyond what you're offering on the gym floor. Like what else to fully engage and kind of address all the needs and be kind of that anchor that leads the consumer, your consumer, throughout the ecosystem, throughout their entire lifespan and their journey with fitness and wellness. I think that's kind of that's a big opportunity there.
Melissa, you started to sneak into my very last question.
I know, I'm trying not to get into too much, I know.
The last question that I want to ask you is, if you're running a club, based on all of this research, for our top 3 initiatives, I'm not going to allow you to say put more foam rollers out.
That's an easy one. How inexpensive are foam rollers, right?
It's easy and it's cheap. Get more out there, everybody.
I think one of the things that I think it comes to mind is the tiered memberships. So I think we have a lot of HVLP, those lower cost clubs do this already, where you have a few different tiers of membership depending on what the member wants access to. So if we know that a lot of members are looking beyond the training floor. So can you create another tier of membership that offers recovery services, or another tier that maybe works in a training session a month? That's just a part of that membership. It's already worked into that, or X number of training sessions a month. I think that is a takeaway that kind of really emerged from the report to me, is the importance of having tiered memberships. And it's not just for current members, but also think about kind of former members. What are some of the more flexible tiers that you can have? Can it be a predominant digital membership plus X number of days out of the month at the gym? Something that could be more likely to fit their budget. I think that's one of the things that really kind of stood out as I think about with the fitness and wellness routine. There's just different layers of it. Why not have different layers of membership to match that as well? Still think there's a lot of gyms have a digital offer. They have a digital component, but I think there's still probably a lot of room to improve that. And it's not just to be able to kind of guide and hold together the fitness and wellness routine, but having some kind of digital tech offer will also provide clubs like kind of like a chance to track what their members doing outside of the club, right? And personalize that experience. I think it goes beyond just what's happening to the end user, but also the data that you can be gathering to on your member or former members if you offer that kind of digital experience, that digital offer to them as well. And the last thing is, and we've seen a lot of kind of good operators start incorporating different zones of whether it's like a recovery zone or a skill-based training zone within their facility. Because especially when we're seeing with some of the gyms and the exercise ecosystem, a lot of the gym users are over-index for sport and kind of competitive events. So whether it could be sports like some of the racket or paddle, pickleball sports, or even fitness races like High Rocks and similar. Having specific zones that are targeted to train for sports specific fitness is another takeaway that kind of emerged specifically for the gym and club operator, and along with having those recovery zones, which we've seen some clubs have been integrating that. But what's kind of coming from this report is that there's different profit centers that you can definitely add to the report, and those are kind of two of them, recovery, skill specific. And then, of course, having a nutrition or like a holistic life coach or so that can hold the routines together. That is kind of like, I guess, the play caller of sorts for the individual client's routine.
Listen, they are three great suggestions. I love all three of them. And the one that really stands out for me is the digital, and that we need to improve and enhance what we've already got because people are wanting that.
And it's across with the exercise ecosystem, regardless of where someone worked out, like home exercisers, still more than half use digital tools at least weekly. And more than half of, I think it's nearly like 2/3 of facility users use it at least weekly. So I think it just speaks to how important like that offer is to them. And, they're getting it from somewhere. They might be using a wearable from another company. So it's really, I think it's just a way that you can continue not just like engaging them. It's not a consolation tool, but it's also a way to kind of track data too on your user, on your consumer.
Ask you this.
Yeah.
Are you available for clubs to be able to do research into their former members or prospects that didn't join?
Yes, I can help with that. Definitely. I know it's a pretty broad range here, so I'm happy to help with that.
Just think there'd be some massive amount of information to help us shape our marketing, shape our value proposition, shape how we look in the eyes of the community when we study what former members think about us or even our current members and what they're doing.
I agree. I think this research here, it looks at kind of nationwide, but there's a lot of nuances on an individual club level, or even a brand level too. It varies.
Melissa, we always love a scoop on the Fitness Business Podcast. What's your next report on?
Actually, right now I've been diving really deep into the consumer side of things. I actually want to look a little bit into the supply side. Leading operators, haven't quite decided if I'm going to focus on US or do something a little more global, but that's probably what the next report is going to be. And it's probably won't be out until like September or October. It's going to take me a few months to work on this, but that's what's going to be the focus. I might have some shorter kind of snapshot reports from the consumer data, but the next report is going to be more on the supply side of things.
Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been fascinating, and I love the fact that you're diving so deep into data and then substantiating decisions based on data. So thank you.
Thank you, JT. Appreciate being here, and thanks for the opportunity to be here.
This season has been flooded with data, and I want to give you a peek behind the curtain on what I did with the data. I dropped the report directly into ChatGPT, and I asked it to first summarize the entire report to the top 10 takeaways. Then I described a gym, for example, an HVLP in Orange County with 7,000 members, and the raw KPIs from that business. And I said, based on the research and the current status of the business, what are your top 3 suggestions for my business? Then I drilled deeper into those suggestions, but I jumped across to Manus to dive into the marketing messages for these suggestions. And within an hour or so, I had a marketing and a sales strategy based on the research and the current state of the hypothetical business. You could do exactly the same. Get a copy of all of the reports, drop them into ChatGPT, ask it to summarize, put in your data, and then ask it to build you a plan based on that consumer research, what you could do. Now, thanks to Rex Roundtable's trusted suppliers for standing with us for another season. We are truly grateful for supporting the Fitness Business Podcast. Please, listeners, check them out on today's episode notes and see the great work they're doing in the industry. Support them as they support us. Solutions One Partners provides marketing, loyalty, and CRM solutions for the US fitness industry. Arsenal Strength manufactures professional strength equipment and offers custom gym design. Power Systems sells a wide range of fitness, strength and conditioning equipment. Black Box Fitness designs and manufactures gym equipment and creates bespoke training facilities. And Replify. Replify provides AI-driven receptionist and sales automation for fitness businesses. As I said, their websites and contact details are on the episode notes on your podcast platform right now. Again, I want to stress that I'm loving all of the suggestions that are coming through for who and what topics you want for Season 7. You can still tell me those suggestions, so go to the link in the episode notes or just email jt@fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. And that brings us to the end of Season 6. Love to know what you thought of the season. I personally thought it was one of our best ever. Maybe it's because I learned so much from the guests. And a quick shout out to Alicia, Jamie, and now Zoe, who are doing amazing work behind the scenes to give you such an incredible podcast. Keep your eyes peeled for our Between the Seasons, where we reshare some of the best episodes. And one final plug, become a FBP Insider and reap all of the benefits the second you join. And it's only $5 a month. See you as an insider. What we leave behind is not set in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others. See you next season.